The shuttle descended through layers of purple atmosphere, and Hyunwoo pressed his face against the window. Veltar Academy sprawled across the landscape below like a crystalline forest, its towers reaching toward 3 small moons hanging in the afternoon sky. His stomach twisted with excitement and nervousness. He was the first human to ever attend this school. The admission letter had arrived 6 months ago, delivered by a diplomatic courier who looked surprised that a human wanted to study xenobiology. Earth had only joined the Galactic Concordance 3 years prior, and most humans stayed home. The galaxy was still getting used to the idea that Deathworlders could be students instead of soldiers or laborers. Hyunwoo grabbed his single bag and stepped onto the landing platform. The gravity felt lighter here, about 80% of Earth's pull. Every step made him feel like he might bounce away. Around him, other students moved with natural grace. A group of tall, crystalline beings floated past without making a sound. Something with 6 legs and fur like silver grass hurried by, chattering in a language that sounded like wind chimes. Nobody looked at him directly, but he felt their stares. Whispers followed him as he walked toward the main building. The registration hall was massive, with ceilings so high they disappeared into shadow. Holographic signs floated in the air, pointing toward different departments in languages Hyunwoo couldn't read. His translator implant buzzed against his skull, working to process everything at once. A small desk stood in the center of the hall. Behind it sat a creature that looked like a floating jellyfish made of light. Its voice came from everywhere and nowhere. Name and homeworld, Hyunwoo. From Earth. The creature's glow flickered. Earth, the Class 12 death planet. You have been assigned to Residential Tower 7, Room 340. Your roommate is Pictal from Chitter 4. Here is your schedule and your emergency beacon. Please keep the beacon with you at all times. Emergency beacon? Why would I need that? The creature dimmed slightly. Standard protocol for all students from high-risk worlds. The medical center needs to know your location in case of incidents. Hyunwoo wanted to ask what kind of incidents, but the creature had already turned to help another student. He took his things and headed toward Tower 7. The residential towers were connected by enclosed bridges that offered views of the campus gardens. Strange plants grew in patterns that hurt to look at for too long. Small creatures flew between the flowers, singing sounds that made Hyunwoo feel homesick even though he couldn't explain why. Room 340 was larger than he expected. 2 sleeping platforms sat on opposite sides with desks and storage units built into the walls. His roommate was already there, unpacking what looked like chunks of amber into a shelf. Pictal was about 4 feet tall, covered in a chitinous exoskeleton that shifted between green and brown. Forearms moved in precise coordination, and compound eyes took up most of his face. He froze when Hyunwoo entered. "Hi," Hyunwoo said, trying to sound friendly. "I'm Hyunwoo. Looks like we're roommates." Pictal's mandibles clicked rapidly. His translator implant rendered it as stuttering. You are the human. From the death planet?" "Yeah, from Earth. It's not as bad as people say. I heard that humans can go days without water, that you eat poison for enjoyment, that you hunt by chasing prey until it dies from exhaustion." Pictal's voice grew higher with each statement. Hyunwoo laughed, which made Pictal jump backward. "Some of that's true, I guess. Coffee is technically toxic to a lot of species, and we do have persistence hunters in our history, but I'm just here to study. I won't hurt you." "I have submitted a room transfer request," Pictal said quietly. "No offense intended. My species has strong survival instincts. Being near a predator species causes us stress. I'm not a predator. Well, I mean, humans are omnivores, but I don't hunt people. You have forward-facing eyes. That is the mark of a hunting species." Hyunwoo touched his face instinctively. He had never thought about his eye placement before. "I guess that's true. But lots of Earth animals have forward-facing eyes and don't hunt." "Like koalas?" Pictal didn't respond. He finished packing his things and left the room without another word. Hyunwoo sat on his sleeping platform and sighed. This was going to be harder than he thought. The next day, he attended his first class. Xenobiology 101 was held in a massive lecture hall that curved in a spiral. Students sat in pods that adjusted to their specific biological needs. Hyunwoo's pod felt wrong for his body, but he managed to find a comfortable position. Other students gave him a wide berth. The nearest occupied pod was 3 spaces away, where a mammalian creature with blue fur pretended very hard not to look at him. Professor Quinvera entered with impressive grace. She was beautiful in an alien way, with 4 arms covered in feathers that shimmered like oil on water. Her head resembled a bird's with a sharp beak and large, intelligent eyes. She wore flowing robes that seemed to move on their own. "Welcome to Xenobiology 101, she said, her voice melodic. "This course will explore the diversity of life across our galaxy. We will study creatures from Class 1 garden worlds to Class 8 hazard planets. You will learn to identify, categorize, and understand the behavioral patterns of species both familiar and strange." She moved gracefully between the holographic displays, bringing up images of various creatures. Hyunwoo recognized none of them. "Biology is the great unifier," Professor Quinvera continued. "Despite our differences, all life shares common threads. We all seek to survive, to reproduce, to adapt. Understanding these universal drives helps us understand each other." Hyunwoo found himself leaning forward, fascinated. This was exactly why he had come. "Today I have an announcement," the professor said. "Next week we will conduct our first live demonstration. I have arranged for specimens from various classification levels to be brought to our facility. This includes a Ralketh from Verdun III, a Class 6 world." Excited whispers filled the hall. Professor Quinvera's feathers ruffled with pride. The Ralketh is a mid-tier predator, considered one of the most dangerous creatures that can be safely contained for study. This will be a rare opportunity to observe its feeding behaviors and defensive mechanisms from behind certified barriers. A student near the front raised a tentacle. "Is it safe, Professor?" "Completely safe. We use military-grade containment fields. The creature cannot reach us and we cannot reach it. Everything is controlled remotely." Hyunwoo felt excitement building in his chest. He had spent his childhood visiting zoos and wildlife centers back on Earth, watching documentaries about dangerous animals, volunteering at rehabilitation facilities. The chance to see an alien predator up close was a dream come true. He didn't notice the worried looks from other students, or the way Professor Quinvera's eyes lingered on him for just a moment too long. The class ended, and students filed out quickly. Hyunwoo gathered his things and headed back to his empty room. Pictal's transfer had been approved. The space felt too large now, too quiet. He lay on his sleeping platform and thought about home. About his sister Daun, who had cried when he left. About the forest near his childhood home where he used to catch salamanders and watch birds. About the risk he had taken coming here. But he was here now, and next week he would see his first alien predator. Hyunwoo smiled in the darkness and fell asleep, dreaming of strange creatures in stranger worlds. The week passed slowly. Hyunwoo attended his classes alone, ate his meals alone, and studied in his empty room. Other students avoided him in the hallways. Once he tried to join a study group in the library, but they packed up and left within minutes of his arrival. He told himself it didn't matter. He was here to learn, not make friends. The day of the demonstration arrived with unusual weather. Lightning storms rolled across the purple sky, and the Academy's power systems flickered occasionally. Hyunwoo hardly noticed. He arrived at the lecture hall early, choosing a seat in the middle section with a clear view of the demonstration area. Students filed in gradually, filling the hall but leaving empty spaces around Hyunwoo like he was radioactive. He pretended to read on his tablet while watching them through his peripheral vision. They were scared of him, actually scared. It made his chest hurt in a way he hadn't expected. Professor Quinvera entered, followed by 2 technicians pushing a large containment unit on a hovering platform. The unit was made of some transparent material that shimmered with energy. Inside, barely visible in the dim light, something moved. "Please ensure you are behind the safety barriers," Professor Quinvera announced. Her feathers were slightly puffed, a sign of excitement or nervousness. "The Ralketh is sedated but will wake shortly. Do not make sudden movements or loud noises." The technicians positioned the containment unit in the center of the demonstration area. Walls of energy hummed to life, creating multiple layers of barriers between the creature and the students. The lights in the hall dimmed, and spotlights focused on the containment unit. The Ralketh stirred. It was bigger than Hyunwoo expected, maybe 8 feet long from nose to tail. Its body was serpentine but supported by 6 short legs that ended in curved claws. The skin looked like overlapping plates of dark metal, each one edged with what might have been natural blades. A ridge of spines ran down its back, glistening with something wet. Its head was angular, almost triangular, with slitted eyes that reflected the light like mirrors. Students gasped. Someone whimpered. Hyunwoo leaned forward, fascinated. The creature moved slowly at first, testing its surroundings. Its head swayed back and forth, tongue flicking out to taste the air. The movements reminded Hyunwoo of the monitor lizards he had seen at wildlife centers. Careful and deliberate. Professor Quinvera operated a control panel, and a small portion of the containment unit opened, a mechanical arm extended, holding what looked like a chunk of raw meat. The Ralketh's attention snapped to it immediately. Notice the predatory focus, the professor narrated. The Ralketh has exceptional vision and can detect movement from great distances. Its primary hunting strategy is ambush, waiting for prey to come within striking range. The creature moved faster than seemed possible for something so large. It lunged at the meat, jaws snapping shut with a sound like breaking stone. The mechanical arm retracted quickly, barely escaping. Several students cried out in alarm. Hyunwoo found himself smiling. The creature was magnificent, all coiled power and perfect evolutionary design. The venom glands located behind the spines can paralyze prey twice the Ralketh's size. Professor Quinvera continued. It is theoretically capable of killing up to 15 standard-sized beings before needing to regenerate its toxin supply. The lights flickered. It was barely noticeable, just a momentary dimming. But the containment field flickered too, and that shimmering wall of energy wavered like heat haze. The Ralketh noticed. Its head snapped toward the nearest barrier, eyes fixed on that spot where the energy had weakened. Continue with the presentation, Professor Quinvera said calmly, but her feathers were now fully extended. The backup systems will stabilize momentarily. The lights flickered again. This time the containment field sputtered, and for half a second it disappeared entirely. The Ralketh struck the barrier with its full body weight. Alarms shrieked. Red warning lights bathed the hall in crimson. The containment field struggled to maintain integrity, crackling and popping with each impact as the creature threw itself against the barrier again and again. Evacuate! Professor Quinvera's voice cut through the chaos. Everyone to the exits. Calmly but quickly. There was nothing calm about it. Students stampeded toward the doors, pushing and shoving. Pods crashed over. Someone's belongings scattered across the floor. The blue-furred student from earlier got knocked down and scrambled on all fours toward safety. Hyunwoo stood up, but he didn't run toward the exits. He moved closer to the demonstration area. The Ralketh wasn't hunting. It was panicking. Hyunwoo could see it in the way the creature moved, in the desperate quality of its strikes against the barrier. Its spines were fully erect, a defensive posture. Its tail lashed wildly, hitting its own body. This wasn't predatory behavior. This was fear. Professor Quinvera struggled with the control panel. The reboot sequence isn't responding. The backup power is insufficient. Everyone out, one of the technicians yelled. The field could fail completely. The hall was nearly empty now. Just Professor Quinvera, the two technicians, and Hyunwoo. Student, why are you still here? Run! The professor's voice was shrill with panic. Hyunwoo ignored her. He watched the Ralketh carefully, noting every movement. The creature was exhausting itself, striking the same weak point over and over. The barrier was at maybe 20% strength now, failing more with each hit. He thought about the monitor lizard at the rehabilitation center back home, the one that had gotten its tail caught in a fence. It had thrashed just like this, terrified and aggressive because it couldn't escape. He thought about the python someone had released in the city park, stressed and defensive when the rescue team found it. He thought about every scared animal he had ever helped. The containment field collapsed with a sound like breaking glass. The Ralketh spilled out onto the floor, disoriented and angry. It hissed, a sound that made Hyunwoo's bones vibrate. Professor Quinvera screamed. The technicians ran. Hyunwoo walked forward. What are you doing? The professor's voice cracked. Hyunwoo didn't answer. He kept his movements smooth and non-threatening. Hands visible, body language calm. The Ralketh's head turned toward him, eyes locking onto this new threat. It coiled, preparing to strike. Hyunwoo waited for it. He watched the muscles bunch under those armored plates, saw the exact moment when the creature committed to its lunge. He had seen cobras strike, had watched big cats attack, had studied predator movements his entire life. When the Ralketh lunged, Hyunwoo moved. His hand shot out and clamped down just behind the creature's head, in that vulnerable spot where the skull met the spine. His other arm wrapped around its body, supporting the weight, controlling the thrashing. The Ralketh's claws scraped against his jacket but couldn't penetrate the thick material. Its tail whipped around, but Hyunwoo twisted his body, keeping it away from the venomous spines. The creature fought him. It was strong, maybe as strong as a large crocodile. Hyunwoo's muscles burned with the effort of holding on, but he didn't let go. Instead, he found the pressure point along the creature's dorsal ridge, that spot that existed on so many Earth reptiles. He pressed down gently and stroked along the ridge, murmuring in Korean. "Gwenchana, Gwenchana, it's okay, it's okay." The Ralketh thrashed once more, then twice, then stopped. It hung in Hyunwoo's arms, breathing hard, body tense but no longer fighting. Its eyes had lost that panicked quality. It was still alert, still wary, but no longer in pure survival mode. Hyunwoo kept stroking that ridge, kept speaking softly. The creature's breathing began to slow. He became aware of the silence. The alarm had stopped. The emergency lights had steadied, and the entire lecture hall was absolutely quiet. Hyunwoo looked up. Every student who had fled to the exits had stopped running. They stood frozen in the doorways, staring. Professor Quinvera stood with all four hands covering her beak. The technicians had pressed themselves against the wall, too shocked to move. 200 beings watched a human hold a creature that could theoretically kill dozens of them, watched him calm it with nothing but his bare hands and his voice. Nobody spoke. Nobody moved. The moment stretched and stretched until it felt like time itself had stopped. In Hyunwoo's arms, the Ralketh made a sound, low and rumbling. Not aggressive, almost questioning. "Good," Hyunwoo said softly, still in Korean. "You're doing good. Just stay calm." The silence continued, heavy as a physical thing, as the human and the predator remained perfectly still in the center of the empty demonstration floor. The security drones arrived first, flooding through the doors in a swarm of blinking lights and scanning beams. They surrounded Hyunwoo in a perfect circle, weapons charging with a high-pitched whine. Red targeting lasers painted dots across his chest. "Release the creature immediately," a mechanical voice commanded. "Any hostile movement will result in neutralization." Hyunwoo stayed perfectly still. The Ralketh tensed in his arms, sensing the new threat. "If I let go suddenly, it will panic again. I need to secure it first. You have 10 seconds to comply." Professor Quinvera finally found her voice. "Wait, stop. He has it under control." She rushed forward, her robes billowing.
"Get a containment team here now."
"And someone contact medical." "Medical won't be necessary," Hyunwoo said. His arms were getting tired, but he kept his voice steady. "Nobody's hurt. Medical is for you, you foolish Deathworlder." The professor's feathers stood completely on end now. "That creature's venom could kill you 3 times over." Hyunwoo looked down at his arms. The Ralketh's spines had come close, very close, but hadn't actually touched his skin. I was careful. It didn't sting me. A containment team arrived with a reinforced carrier unit. They approached slowly, clearly terrified. Hyunwoo had to talk them through the process step by step, explaining how to support the creature's weight without triggering its defensive responses. When they finally secured the Ralketh in the new containment unit, his arms were shaking from exhaustion. The medical team descended on him anyway, scanning him with devices that beeped and hummed. They found nothing wrong except elevated heart rate and muscle fatigue. The lead medic, something that looked like a walking starfish, seemed almost disappointed. "Impossible," she muttered. "Interaction with a Class 6 predator should result in trauma response at minimum. His stress hormones are barely elevated." "I'm fine," Hyunwoo said. "Really? You grabbed a creature that could have killed you, but it didn't." The medic made a sound like rustling paper. "That is not the point." Security escorted him out of the lecture hall. Students pressed against the walls to let them pass, staring with a mixture of fear and awe. Someone had already started recording. Hyunwoo could see the hovering camera drones following him. They took him to the administrative tower, to an office so large it could have fit his entire apartment from Earth. Dean Morpheus waited behind a desk made of what looked like living coral. The dean himself was difficult to look at directly. His body was semi-translucent, constantly shifting with tentacles that moved independently of each other. His eyes, dozens of them, focused on Hyunwoo from multiple angles. "Sit," the dean said. His voice came from somewhere inside his body, deep and resonant. Hyunwoo sat. 3 security officers positioned themselves around the room. Professor Quinvera stood in the corner looking shaken. "Do you understand the severity of what you have done?" Dean Morpheus asked. I stopped a dangerous animal from escaping. You violated 17 safety protocols. You endangered yourself and others. You demonstrated a complete disregard for established procedures. The dean's tentacles moved in agitation. Explain your actions. Hyunwoo took a breath. How could he explain something that felt so natural? The creature was scared, not aggressive. Its body language showed defensive behavior, not hunting behavior. I've worked with scared animals before. This was not an animal. It was a Class 6 predator. What's the difference? The silence that followed was absolute. Dean Morpheus's tentacles stopped moving. Professor Quinvera made a choking sound. What is the difference? The dean repeated slowly. A Class 6 predator is designated as such because it poses extreme danger to most known species. It is not a pet. It is not livestock. It is a killing machine shaped by evolution on a world far more hostile than most in our galaxy. So is a saltwater crocodile, Hyunwoo said. Or a polar bear. Or a hippo. Humans work with all of those. Your planet, Dean Morpheus said quietly, is classified as Class 12. There are only 3 Class 12 worlds known to harbor intelligent life. Do you know what that means? Hyunwoo shook his head. It means your planet is so hostile, so fundamentally dangerous that most species cannot survive there without extensive protective equipment. The gravity alone would crush most of us. The atmospheric pressure would cause organ failure. The predators, the diseases, the weather, all of it combines to create an environment that should not support complex civilization. The dean leaned forward, yet humans thrive there. You evolved there. That Ralketh that you grabbed? On your planet, it would be considered mid-tier prey. The words settled over the room like snow. Hyunwoo had never thought about Earth that way. It was just home. Yes, there were dangerous animals, but there were safe places too. Cities, farms, parks. You just had to know where to go and what to avoid. I didn't mean to cause problems, he said finally. I just saw a scared animal that needed help. That is what concerns us, the dean said. You saw danger and walked toward it. This is not normal behavior. This is not rational behavior. This is Deathworlder behavior. A holographic screen appeared, showing footage from the lecture hall. Hyunwoo watched himself approach the Ralketh, watched the grab, watched the way he calmed it. From this angle, with the camera drones capturing every detail, it did look insane. I want you to understand something, Dean Morpheus said. The other students are terrified of you now. Not because of what you did, but because you considered it normal. They see a being who views extreme danger as a minor inconvenience. How are they supposed to interact with you? How are they supposed to trust their own safety around someone who has such a different concept of risk? The words hurt more than Hyunwoo expected. He thought about Pictal requesting a room transfer, about the empty spaces in lecture halls, about eating lunch alone every day. I don't want people to be afraid of me. Then you must understand their perspective. What is routine for you is nightmare fuel for them. A human's baseline fear threshold is drastically different from the galactic standard. The dean gestured to the screen, where the footage replayed. You are not being malicious. You are being yourself. But yourself is terrifying to most species in this academy. Professor Quinvera finally spoke. For what it's worth, Dean Morpheus, his assessment of the creature's behavior was correct. I reviewed the footage multiple times. The Ralketh was indeed displaying defensive rather than offensive posturing, and his intervention likely prevented a catastrophe. If that creature had gotten into the ventilation system, dozens could have died before we recaptured it. That may be true, the dean said, but it does not change the fundamental problem. We have a student whose instincts are dangerous, not because he wants to harm others, but because he does not recognize danger the same way others do. So what happens now? Hyunwoo asked. Are you expelling me? No. But you will be required to attend cultural sensitivity training and risk assessment counseling. You will be monitored, and you are prohibited from participating in any live demonstrations without explicit authorization from both myself and the relevant professor. The dean's eyes focused on him. We are trying to integrate humans into our society, Hyunwoo. But integration requires understanding from both sides. You must learn to recognize how your actions affect others. I understand. Do you? Because right now your image is being transmitted across a dozen worlds. The human who grabbed a predator with his bare hands. Some will see you as a hero. Others will see you as a threat. Either way, your life at this academy has become more complicated. Hyunwoo left the office an hour later, exhausted and confused. The hallways were packed with students, but they parted before him like he was radioactive. Whispers followed him everywhere. His personal messages were flooded. Most were from humans on other worlds, some supportive, some angry that he had made their species look reckless. There were interview requests from news organizations, threats from groups that thought Deathworlders should not be allowed in civilized space, and one message from a human named Bora, studying astrophysics on a neighboring station. "I saw what happened," the message read. "I know what it's like being alone out here. If you need someone to talk to, I'm here." Hyunwoo stared at the message for a long time. Then he typed a response, "Thank you. I could use a friend." He hit send and sat in his empty room, wondering if coming to the academy had been a mistake. But when he closed his eyes, he could still feel the weight of the Ralketh in his arms, could still sense that moment when the creature had stopped fighting and started trusting. Maybe it was worth it after all. 3 months after the incident, Hyunwoo stood in the same lecture hall where everything had changed. The room had been completely refurbished. New containment systems gleamed along the walls, designed with input from multiple species, including, surprisingly, him. The Academy had asked him to consult on the redesign, focusing on species-specific threat responses. The hall was packed, every seat filled with students even sitting in the aisles. Word had spread that Professor Quinvera and the human student were co-teaching a special session on cross-species safety protocols and behavioral assessment. Half the attendees were from other departments, just curious. Hyunwoo felt nervous in a way he hadn't during the original incident. Speaking in front of hundreds of people was different from handling an animal, but Professor Quinvera stood beside him, her feathers calm and arranged beautifully, radiating confidence. "Welcome," she began. "Today we will discuss something that has become clear over recent months. Different species perceive danger differently. What is terrifying to one may be routine to another. This gap in perception causes misunderstanding, fear, and sometimes tragedy. Today we bridge that gap." She gestured to Hyunwoo. "My colleague will demonstrate proper handling techniques for various creatures, explaining the behavioral science behind each action. I will provide context about why these techniques are necessary and how they can be adapted for species with different physical capabilities." The first demonstration involved a creature from a Class 4 world, something like a large insect with multiple legs and compound eyes. To most students, it looked monstrous. Hyunwoo approached it calmly, explaining each movement. "Notice its antennae are pointing toward me. That means it's aware of my presence but not alarmed. If they flatten back, that would signal aggression or fear. I'm moving slowly because sudden movements trigger predator-prey responses in most species." He demonstrated how to safely guide the creature into a transport container, narrating the entire process. Professor Quinvera added commentary about the creature's evolutionary background and natural behavior patterns. They worked through several more examples, each one building on the last. A flying creature that required understanding of three-dimensional threat assessment. An aquatic animal that perceived danger through vibration rather than sight. A plant-like organism that defended itself with toxins. Then Professor Quinvera brought out the final demonstration, the Ralketh. The auditorium went absolutely silent. Students leaned forward, gripping their seats. Hyunwoo felt his heart rate increase, but he kept his expression calm. "This creature and I have met before," he said, trying to inject some humor into the tension. A few nervous laughs rippled through the crowd. "Last time was unplanned and dangerous. Today is controlled and educational. The difference is preparation and understanding." The Ralketh was in a clear containment unit, awake and alert. Its eyes tracked Hyunwoo as he approached. He could see recognition there, could see the creature's body language shift from wary to curious. 3 months ago, this animal was terrified. It had been transported, sedated, woken in a strange place with strange smells and strange sounds. It panicked. Any creature would panic under those circumstances. He placed his hand against the containment unit, and the Ralketh moved closer, tongue flicking out to taste the barrier. "Today it knows me. It associates me with calm handling and proper care. This is the foundation of all animal interaction. Trust." Professor Quinvera explained the new protocols. Multiple backup containment systems, species-specific stress monitoring, mandatory behavioral assessment before any live demonstration, emergency response teams trained in non-lethal creature control. "These changes came from acknowledging our limitations," she said. "I am an expert in xenobiology, but my expertise comes from observation and study. Hyunwoo's expertise comes from direct interaction with dangerous fauna. Both types of knowledge are valuable. Both are necessary. Hyunwoo opened a small section of the containment unit, just large enough for his hand. He had practiced this a dozen times with the creature handlers supervising. The Ralketh moved toward the opening, but not aggressively. More like curious. I'm reading its body language constantly. Spine position, tail movement, eye focus, tongue frequency. All of these tell me its emotional state. His hand entered the containment unit slowly. If any indicator shows stress or aggression, I stop immediately. The Ralketh let him touch its head, just behind the ridge of armored plates. Students gasped. Hyunwoo maintained contact for a few seconds, then withdrew his hand smoothly. The key is respect, he said. This creature is not a pet. It's not tame. It's a wild animal that has learned I won't hurt it. There's a difference. If I pushed too far, if I assumed our previous interaction made it safe, it would defend itself. And it would be right to do so. He sealed the containment unit. The Ralketh watched him for a moment longer, then returned to the resting area inside its habitat. Questions flooded in. Students asked about specific creatures from their homeworlds, about safety techniques, about training methods. Hyunwoo answered what he could, and Professor Quinvera filled in the gaps. The session ran 2 hours over schedule. Afterward, Silandra approached with 3 other students. She had become something like a friend over the past months, studying with Hyunwoo regularly and teaching him about her world's ecosystem. That was incredible, she said. I understood maybe half of the behavioral cues you mentioned, but I want to learn more. We all do, she gestured to her companions. Would you consider starting a study group? For those interested in cross-species behavioral science, you want to study with me? You are the most qualified person on campus for this subject. Why would we not? The study group started the following week. 8 students initially, growing to 15 by the end of the month. They met twice a week, discussing different species' threat responses and communication methods. Hyunwoo learned as much as he taught, discovering that many species had their own versions of animal handling based on their unique perceptions. His academic life transformed. Professors consulted him on safety measures. Students sought his advice on research projects. The xenobiology department offered him a position as a student assistant, working with the live specimens in the research facility. One evening, Hyunwoo sat in the biodome, a massive structure that housed controlled ecosystems from various worlds. The Ralketh's habitat was here, expanded and enriched based on behavioral observations. He visited regularly, maintaining the relationship he had inadvertently built. The creature approached when it saw him, pressing against the transparent wall of its enclosure. Not aggressive, just acknowledging his presence. Hyunwoo pressed his hand against the barrier and the Ralketh mimicked the gesture from its side. Making friends with the dangerous one again, he turned to find Silandra settling beside him, careful to maintain the physical distance she preferred. She had explained that her species valued personal space highly. Hyunwoo had learned to respect the different comfort levels of different species. Just visiting, he said. I watched the original footage again yesterday, from the incident. I wanted to understand why you weren't afraid. I was afraid. Just not of the Ralketh, then what? Of failing. Of the creature getting hurt because I made a mistake. Of someone else getting hurt trying to recapture it. He watched the Ralketh settle down, still visible through the transparent wall. I'm always afraid of something. Humans are scared of lots of things. We're just trained to act through the fear. That is what makes you terrifying, Silandra said softly. Not that you lack fear, but that fear doesn't stop you. Most species freeze or flee. You evaluate and advance. Is that still scary to you? She considered for a long moment. Yes, but it is also admirable. I am learning to separate my instinctive fear from my rational assessment. You are helping with that. His personal messages chimed. Hyunwoo pulled up his comm device and smiled at the message displayed. It was from his sister, Da-un. Her face appeared in a small hologram, grinning widely. Big brother, I got accepted into the xenobiology program at Earth's Concordance Academy. They said my application essay about your work was exceptional. I'm going to follow your path. Another message from Bora. Saw your co-teaching session on the academic networks. You're famous now. Try not to let it go to your head. And one from Jiho. The medical station where I work is implementing your safety protocols. Apparently, understanding species-specific fear responses reduces incidence by 40%. You're changing things, Hyunwoo. He looked around the biodome, at the various creatures from various worlds, all existing peacefully in their designated spaces. At Silandra beside him, no longer afraid but curious. At the message from his sister, ready to join this strange new frontier. Things are changing, he said aloud. Yes, Silandra agreed. The galaxy is learning that humans are not monsters from a death world. You are simply beings who learn to live alongside monsters. There is a difference. News came through the official channels later that week. Earth was sending 50 more students to various academies across known space. The Concordance was establishing formal cultural exchange programs. Human perspectives on risk assessment and crisis management were being integrated into safety training across multiple institutions. 2 weeks passed and Hyunwoo became a ghost in his own life. Students didn't just avoid him anymore. They actively fled when he approached. Professors called on him less in class, and when they did, the room went silent with tension. Someone had started a petition to have him removed from campus for safety reasons. It had 3,000 signatures. He ate alone in his room, studied alone, walked alone. The isolation pressed down on him like physical weight. Then Bora arrived. She showed up at his door without warning, a small human woman with short hair and an easy smile. You look terrible, she said by way of greeting. Thanks, Hyunwoo said. That helps, and can I come in? They talked for hours. Bora was from Busan, had been studying astrophysics on Station Kepler for 8 months. She understood the isolation, the constant awareness of being watched, the exhaustion of being considered dangerous just for existing. The thing is, she said, lounging on Pictal's abandoned sleeping platform, we're not going to change their minds by hiding. We need to show them who we actually are. How? They won't even come near me. Then we bring the information to them. A presentation. Educational. We show them Earth. Explain how humans interact with our own wildlife. Demystify the whole Deathworlder thing. She pulled up her comm device. I know another human, Jiho. He's studying medicine on a research station near the core worlds. Smart guy, good at explaining complex things simply. Between the 3 of us, we could put together something really good. You think anyone would actually come? Make it voluntary. Make it casual. Market it as cultural exchange, not defense. Some will come out of curiosity, if nothing else, she grinned. Besides, what do you have to lose? They already think you're terrifying. It took a week to organize. Jiho arrived 2 days before the presentation. A tall guy with glasses and an analytical way of talking. He brought data sets, medical information, and evolutionary biology charts. Bora handled the logistics and promotion. Hyunwoo gathered videos and images from Earth. They booked a small auditorium, capacity 50. Hyunwoo expected maybe 5 students to show up out of morbid curiosity. 37 came. They sat in the back rows as far from the stage as possible, but they came. Hyunwoo recognized a few faces from his classes. The blue-furred student was there. Even Pictal sat near the exit, looking ready to bolt. Bora started the presentation with images of Earth from space. Our planet looks peaceful from orbit. Blue, green, white, beautiful. But it's one of the most hostile environments known to support intelligent life. We want to talk about why and how that shaped who humans are. Jiho took over, bringing up charts showing Earth's gravity, atmospheric composition, and temperature ranges. Humans evolved under 1 g of gravity. Most species in the Concordance evolved under 0.6 to 0.8 g. Our bones are denser, our muscles stronger, our cardiovascular system more robust. This isn't because we're superior. It's because anything weaker would have been crushed. Then came the wildlife footage. Hyunwoo had spent hours curating the videos, choosing ones that showed the relationship between humans and dangerous animals. Steve Irwin handling crocodiles while explaining their importance to the ecosystem. Wildlife photographers sitting calmly while lions walked past. Falconers working with birds of prey. Marine biologists swimming with sharks. Snake handlers removing venomous serpents from homes and releasing them safely into the wild. The auditorium was silent. A few students looked physically ill. These creatures could kill the humans interacting with them, Hyunwoo explained. The crocodile could death roll and drown him. The lions could attack. The sharks could bite. But they don't because these humans understand them. They know the behavior patterns, the warning signs, the proper way to approach. But why? Someone called from the back. It was the blue-furred student. Why would you get close to something that dangerous? Bora smiled. Because on Earth, everything is dangerous. Our ancestors couldn't avoid all threats, so they learned to understand them instead, and something amazing happened. We didn't just learn to coexist with dangerous animals. We befriended them. New images appeared. Dogs playing with children, cats sleeping on laps, horses carrying riders, dolphins interacting with swimmers. Dogs descended from wolves, Jiho said. Wolves that hunted our ancestors. But somewhere along the way, we decided to work together instead of fighting. Horses can kill a human with one kick, but we domesticated them thousands of years ago. Cats are barely domesticated even now. They're small predators that chose to live with us. We also domesticated cattle, pigs, chickens, Bora added. We turned prey animals into livestock, predators into companions. We shaped the evolution of dozens of species to suit our needs. It sounds arrogant, but it was necessary. On Earth, you either adapt or you die. Hyunwoo brought up more footage, this time showing the darker side. Natural disasters, extreme weather, disease outbreaks, hurricanes leveling cities, earthquakes splitting the ground, volcanic eruptions blotting out the sun. Earth tries to kill us regularly, he said quietly. Not with malice, just with physics and chemistry. Our planet doesn't care if we survive. So we learned to be stubborn. We learned to keep going when any sane species would quit. We call it persistence, and it's our greatest strength and our biggest flaw. He showed the famous footage of persistence hunters, humans jogging steadily after prey for hours and hours until the animal collapsed from exhaustion. He showed marathon runners pushing through pain that would hospitalize other species. He showed rescue workers digging through rubble for days to save trapped survivors. We don't give up, Bora said. It's not bravery. It's not fearlessness. It's just how we're built. Giving up meant death on our planet, so we evolved to keep trying even when it's illogical. Jiho brought up medical data. This extends to our biology. Humans can survive injuries that would be fatal to most species. We have redundant systems, rapid healing, and pain tolerance far above the galactic average. We can function with damaged organs, broken bones, significant blood loss. Again, this isn't special. It's just what was needed to survive on Earth. The presentation shifted to culture. Music from dozens of human civilizations, art from every continent, literature, philosophy, science. Bora emphasized that humans weren't just dangerous. They were curious, creative, emotional. They built civilizations despite their hostile world, not because of it. We know we're scary to you, Hyunwoo said. We know our normal is your nightmare. But we don't want to hurt anyone. We just want to learn, to share, to be part of this galactic community. And we're hoping you can help us understand how to do that without terrifying everyone around us. The auditorium was silent for a long moment. Then slowly a tentacle raised in the middle section. Question? Bora said. The student stood. It was something Hyunwoo didn't recognize, vaguely crab-like with a shell covered in patterns. The video of the human with the crocodile. Why was he smiling? The creature could have killed him. Hyunwoo thought about how to explain. Because he loved it. He loved that animal, respected it, wanted to teach others about it. Humans form emotional attachments to things, even dangerous things, especially dangerous things sometimes. That is insane. Yeah, Hyunwoo admitted. Yeah, it kind of is. A few students made sounds that might have been laughter. The tension in the room eased slightly. More questions came. They lasted an hour past the scheduled end time. Students asked about Earth's oceans, its deserts, its poles. They asked about human emotions, human history, human mistakes. They asked about the Ralketh incident, and Hyunwoo explained it again, in more detail, showing similar handling techniques with Earth reptiles. I didn't think of it as dangerous, he said honestly. I thought of it as scared. And scared animals need help, not fear. When the presentation finally ended, most students left quickly. But a few lingered. The blue-furred student approached cautiously. My name is Silandra, she said. Her voice was soft, musical. I wanted to apologize. I have been avoiding you. I was frightened. You don't need to apologize, Hyunwoo said. I am frightening, apparently. You are different, she corrected. Different is not the same as bad. I would like to learn more about your world if you would teach me. I'd like that. Over the next few days, something shifted. Not dramatically, but noticeably. A few students started sitting closer to Hyunwoo in classes. Professor Quinvera asked if he would be interested in helping redesign safety protocols for the xenobiology department. Someone left a gift outside his door, a crystalline sculpture with a note that said, "Thank you for teaching us." Pictal messaged him. I saw your presentation. I understand better now. I am still uncomfortable around you, but I no longer think you are a threat. This is progress, yes? Yes, Hyunwoo typed back. This is progress. Bora and Jiho stayed for another week before returning to their own schools. On their last night, they sat in Hyunwoo's room, eating snacks from Earth that Bora had smuggled in. You're going to be okay, Bora said. This is just the beginning. The beginning of what? Of humans being part of something bigger. Of the galaxy learning that Deathworlders are just people who come from a dangerous place. Of things getting better. She smiled. You grabbed a predator and lived. You can handle anything else they throw at you. Hyunwoo hoped she was right.